The transport shuttle Valkyrie docked with Deep Space Station Echo 7, with a mechanical hiss that echoed through the empty corridors. Commander Kai Thorne stepped onto the platform, his military boots clicking against the polished metal floor. The station orbited Helios Prime, a dying star whose crimson light cast everything in bloody shadows through the reinforced viewports. Commander Thorne? A woman in a pristine white lab coat approached, her auburn hair pulled back severely. I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez, Chief Research Officer. Welcome to Echo 7. Kai nodded curtly, adjusting the strap of his weapon case. Doctor, I'm here for the classified assignment. Project briefing? Of course. Follow me. She led him through sterile corridors lined with security checkpoints. Your file says you're career military, Special Forces decorated veteran. What they didn't mention is why they specifically requested you. That makes two of us, Kai replied, his gray eyes scanning each checkpoint they passed. The security was unlike anything he'd seen. Biometric scanners, neural pattern recognition, even genetic verification points. This much protection for one prisoner? Dr. Vasquez paused at a blast door marked with biohazard warnings. She's not exactly a prisoner, Commander. More like a contained natural disaster. The briefing room was sparse. A metal table, 2 chairs, and a holographic projector. Director James Wolfe, a stern man with silver hair and cold blue eyes, materialized as a flickering image. Commander Thorne, Wolfe's voice crackled through the speakers. What you're about to learn is classified, beyond top secret. Project Omega, designation Asset Omega, was recovered from a derelict alien vessel discovered drifting in the Kepler void 3 years ago. The hologram displayed images of a massive, organic-looking ship, its hull covered in what appeared to be living tissue. The vessel's crew was long dead, but we found her in a specialized containment pod. Our xenobiology team determined she's approximately 22 years old by human standards, though her species' aging process is unclear. Kai studied the images. What species? Unknown. Her genetic structure suggests bioengineering on a scale we can't comprehend. She possesses abilities that... Wolfe paused. Let's just say the designation living weapon is accurate. Telekinetic manipulation, energy projection, possibly more we haven't discovered. Dr. Vasquez activated another display showing brain, scans, and genetic sequences. The fascinating part is her neural patterns. They suggest she was designed to bond with another being, a psychological and genetic imperative built into her DNA. Bond how? Kai's jaw tightened. We're not entirely sure, Wolfe admitted. But Commander, your genetic profile appeared in our databases during the screening process. There's something about your DNA that resonates with her readings. That's why you're here. Kai felt a chill. Are you saying I'm some kind of match? We're saying you're the only person who's shown any genetic compatibility markers with her biological structure. Every other guard we've stationed here has experienced severe psychological pressure, nightmares, anxiety attacks, even temporary psychosis. You might be different. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. Your orders are simple, Commander. Guard her. Monitor her vital signs. Under no circumstances are you to interact with her directly, speak to her, or compromise the stasis field. She remains unconscious until Earth Command decides what to do with her. And if she wakes up? Wolfe's expression darkened. She won't. The stasis system is fail-safe. Multiple redundancies, isolated power supply, quantum-locked containment protocols. She'll remain asleep until we're ready. The hologram flickered out, leaving Kai alone with Dr. Vasquez. She handed him a security badge and a datapad. Your quarters are in Section C. The observation deck is accessible 24/7. Shift rotation is every 8 hours, but you'll have primary oversight. That evening, Kai stood before the observation window of Containment Lab 7. Inside, suspended, in a column of pale blue energy, floated the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. Her skin was alabaster pale with faint luminescent markings that traced elegant patterns along her arms and face. Her hair was long and silver white, floating ethereally in the stasis field. She wore a simple white bodysuit that outlined her graceful form. Even unconscious, there was something magnetic about her. an inexplicable pull that made his chest tighten. Her face was serene, almost peaceful, with high cheekbones and full lips that seemed to curve in the hint of a smile. Seraphis, he whispered, reading her designation from his datapad. The name felt familiar on his tongue, though he'd never heard it before. As he watched, he could have sworn he saw her eyelids flutter, just for a moment. But the monitors showed no change in her status. Deep stasis. All systems normal. Kai settled into his chair for the long watch, unaware that in the depths of space, automated systems were already beginning to fail. The first sign of trouble came at 0347 hours. Kai jerked awake as emergency lights bathed the observation deck in pulsing red. The station's hull groaned under some unseen stress, and his comm unit crackled to life. All stations, this is Control. We have multiple system failures across sections A through D. Engineering teams report. The transmission cut to static. Kai was on his feet instantly, checking the containment lab's status monitors. Everything showed green. But something felt wrong. The air hummed with an electric tension that made his skin crawl. Commander Thorne to Control, requesting immediate status update. He spoke into his comm. Only static answered. Through the observation window, Seraphis remained motionless in her blue stasis field, but the energy column seemed dimmer somehow. Kai checked the readings again. Power levels were dropping, slowly, but definitely declining. He tried his comm again, then the emergency channels. Nothing. The station's communication array was down, along with what appeared to be half the primary systems. When he checked the security feeds, he saw corridors filled with emergency lighting and scattered debris. No signs of the crew. A grinding mechanical sound echoed through the walls, followed by a deep vibration that seemed to come from the station's core. The lights flickered, and for a terrifying moment the stasis field wavered. Kai's heart hammered as he realized the truth. This wasn't a system failure. Someone had sabotaged Echo 7, and they'd done it systematically, targeting the most critical systems first. The containment protocols were failing. No, he muttered, frantically working the manual override controls. But the damage was already done. The quantum locks were disengaging one by one, and the power feed to the stasis chamber was dropping below minimum thresholds. Inside the containment lab, the blue energy field flickered like a dying flame. Seraphis's eyes opened. They were the most stunning shade of violet Kai had ever seen, with flecks of silver that seemed to catch the emergency lighting. She looked directly at him through the reinforced glass, her gaze finding his with startling precision. Her lips moved, and though no sound could penetrate the containment field, he could read the single word she spoke. Kai. The stasis field collapsed completely. Seraphis dropped gracefully to the floor of the containment chamber, her bare feet touching down without sound. The luminescent markings on her skin began to glow brighter, casting ethereal patterns of light across the walls. She approached the observation window, placing her palm against the glass. Kai felt something deep in his chest, a pulling sensation, as if invisible threads connected him to her. His hand moved of its own accord, pressing against the glass where hers rested. The moment their palms aligned, even with the barrier between them, warmth flooded through him. "You came," she whispered. And somehow he heard her voice clearly despite the sealed chamber. It was musical, with undertones that resonated in his bones. "I knew you would come. How do you know my name?" His voice was barely audible. "I've been dreaming of you." Her violet eyes held his with startling intensity. "Every night in the darkness I saw your face, heard your voice calling to me." The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Emergency klaxons began wailing, and Kai could smell smoke in the recycled air. Whatever had attacked Echo 7 wasn't finished. "I have to get you out of there," he said, his training warring with protocols that seemed meaningless now. "The station's compromised." Seraphis nodded, stepping back from the glass. "The containment lock. It responds to your biometrics now. The bonding process has begun." Bonding process? She smiled, and it transformed her entire face. You're my anchor, Kai Thorne. The one soul in all the galaxy designed to balance mine. Our species has searched for yours for millennia. Kai's hand hovered over the emergency release controls. Everything he'd been taught screamed at him to leave her contained, to follow protocols, to wait for backup. But backup wasn't coming, and the station was dying around them. If I release you, what happens? I protect what matters to me. Her expression grew fierce, protective. And you matter more than life itself. Another explosion rocked the station, closer this time. Through the corridor viewports, Kai could see the distant flicker of approaching ships, but their configuration was wrong. Alien. The attackers were still coming. He made his choice. The containment lock disengaged with a soft chime, and the reinforced glass barrier slid upward. Seraphis stepped through, and the moment she was free, Kai felt the full force of their connection. It was like completing a circuit. Energy flowed between them, warm and electric and utterly right. She moved toward him with fluid grace, her luminescent markings pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. When she reached him, she placed her hands on his chest, looking up into his eyes. My anchor, she breathed. My protector. I'm supposed to be guarding you, he said softly. You are. Just not the way they intended. She rose on her toes, bringing her face close to his. They told you I was a weapon, didn't they? Yes, they were right. But weapons choose their wielders. Her lips were inches from his. And I choose you. The kiss was inevitable, a culmination of forces that had been building since the moment he'd first seen her. Her lips were soft and warm, and when they touched his, the world exploded into sensation. The connection between them deepened, becoming something physical and spiritual and utterly consuming. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Seraphis's markings were glowing so brightly they cast shadows on the walls, and Kai could feel power thrumming through him. Her power, somehow channeled through their bond. We have to go, she said urgently. They're almost here. Who? The hegemony. They created my people, but they fear what we can become when we find our anchors. Her expression hardened. They'll try to kill us both rather than lose control, as, if summoned by her words, the sound of cutting tools echoed through the station's hull. The attackers were boarding Echo 7. Kai grabbed his weapon case and emergency supplies. Can you fight? Seraphis smiled, and for the first time he understood why they called her a weapon. Power radiated from her like heat from a star. With you beside me, I can do anything. Together, they ran toward the station's hangar bay, their bond growing stronger with every step. The maintenance corridors of Echo 7 were cramped and poorly lit, but they offered the best chance of reaching the hangar bay without encountering the boarding parties. Kai led the way, his sidearm drawn, while Seraphis followed close behind. Her luminescent markings had dimmed to avoid giving away their position, but he could still feel the power radiating from her. How many? He whispered as they paused at a junction. Seraphis closed her eyes, concentrating. 12 in the main corridors, 6 more cutting through the outer hull near the docking ports. They're familiar. Familiar how? Hegemony shock troops, bioengineered soldiers created from the same base genetic material as my people, but without the anchor requirement. They're stronger and faster than baseline humans, but they lack our flexibility. Kai processed this information as they continued through the narrow passage. Your people, where are they? Are there others like you? There were. Her voice carried deep sadness. The hegemony created us as living weapons, designed to bond with compatible beings from conquered species. We were meant to be the ultimate tools of subjugation, weapons that would be psychologically incapable of harming our anchor's people. They reached another junction, and Kai checked both directions before signaling the all clear. But something went wrong. Something went right. Seraphis's markings pulsed gently. We began to care more about our anchors than our creators. Love proved stronger than programming. So the hegemony decided to eliminate us. How many survived? I don't know. I was in stasis when they attacked our world. The ship that carried me was fleeing the purge. She touched his arm gently. What about you, Kai? What made them choose you specifically? He thought about Dr. Vasquez's words, about the genetic compatibility readings. They said my DNA resonated with yours somehow. That other guards experienced psychological pressure around you. Because they weren't compatible. The bond can only form with the right genetic markers, specific neural patterns, chemical signatures, even quantum resonance at the cellular level. She moved closer as they navigated a particularly narrow section. It's not just physical attraction, though, that's part of it. It's deeper, spiritual. I felt it the moment I saw you, Kai admitted. Even unconscious, you were magnetic. The recognition was mutual. Even in stasis, I dreamed of you. Your face, your voice, the way you move. Her fingers brushed his hand. I knew you before we met. They emerged from the maintenance corridor into a wider passage, one that led directly to the hangar bay. But voices echoed from ahead, harsh, alien syllables that made Seraphis tense. Hegemony strike team, she whispered. They're in the hangar. How do we get past them? Instead of answering, Seraphis pressed him against the wall and kissed him again. This time the sensation was different, more intense, more purposeful. He felt her power flowing into him, changing him on a cellular level. When she pulled back, his vision had sharpened dramatically. He could see heat signatures through the walls, could hear conversations from hundreds of meters away. His reflexes felt enhanced, his thinking clearer and faster. What did you do to me? Activated your potential. The genetic compatibility works. Both ways. I enhance you, you stabilize me. Her smile was tender. We're stronger together than either could be alone. Kai looked at his hands. They seemed the same, but he could feel energy coursing through them. Is this permanent? Only as long as we're bonded. The effects will fade if we're separated. Her expression grew serious. But Kai, there's something else you need to know. The bond isn't just psychological, it's physical too. Intimacy strengthens it, makes both of us more powerful. Heat flared between them despite their dangerous circumstances. Intimacy? The closer we become, the stronger our connection grows. Touch, passion, love. They're not just emotional experiences for bonded pairs. They're power sources. She traced patterns on his chest that matched the markings on her skin. Every kiss, every caress, every moment of pleasure we share makes us harder to kill, harder to separate. The hegemony knows this. It's why they're so desperate to stop us. A fully bonded pair is nearly unstoppable. Her eyes flashed with determination. They learned that lesson during the purge. The voices from the hangar grew louder. Kai counted. At least 6 distinct speakers, all using the harsh hegemony dialect. But with his enhanced hearing, he could also detect something else. Human voices, weak and distressed. Survivors, he said grimly. They have some of the station crew. Seraphis nodded. Dr. Vasquez is among them. I can sense her neural patterns. She's terrified but unharmed. We have to help them. I know. She took his hand, and the moment their skin touched, power flowed between them like electricity. Are you ready to see what we can do together? Squeezed her fingers. Lead the way. They approached the hangar bay entrance carefully. Through the reinforced glass, Kai could see 6 hegemony soldiers, tall, pale beings with elongated limbs and silvery skin that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. They had Dr. Vasquez and 3 other crew members kneeling in the center of the bay, surrounded by alien technology. They're trying to access the station's databanks, Seraphis explained. Looking for information about me, about the bond. Can they break the encryption? Eventually, but not if we stop them first. She turned to face him fully. This will require complete trust, Kai. Complete surrender to the bond. What do you need me to do? Instead of answering with words, she kissed him again. But this time she didn't pull back. The kiss deepened, became something transcendent. Her power flowed into him in waves, and his human strength and determination flowed back to her. They were sharing more than energy. They were sharing themselves, becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. When they finally separated, both were glowing. Seraphis's markings blazed like captured starlight, and Kai could see similar patterns beginning to appear on his own skin, faint, but growing stronger. "Now," she whispered, "we fight as one." The hangar bay doors exploded inward, and the real battle began. The hegemony soldiers reacted with inhuman speed, but Kai and Seraphis moved as one entity, their bond transforming them into something beyond either species' normal capabilities. Seraphis raised her hand, and energy lanced out like concentrated starlight, while Kai rolled behind cover with reflexes that defied human limitations. "Impossible!" one of the aliens hissed in accented English. "The weapon should not be functional without proper conditioning." "I am not your weapon," Seraphis replied, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to vibrate through the station's hull. "Not anymore." She gestured, and one of the hegemony soldiers flew backward into the hangar's bulkhead with bone-crushing force. But the effort left her momentarily drained, her luminescent markings flickering. Kai felt her weakness through their bond and acted on instinct. He sprinted from cover, drawing the alien's fire while his enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge. Their energy weapons. When he reached Seraphis, he pulled her into his arms, and the moment they touched, her power flared back to full strength. "They're trying to separate us," she gasped against his shoulder. "Not happening." He spun them both, as another energy blast seared the air where they'd been standing. "How do we end this?" "Together." She looked into his eyes, and he saw something there that went beyond strategy, desire, raw and urgent. "But first, we need more power. Even in the middle of battle, even with hostile aliens trying to kill them, the heat between them was undeniable." Seraphis pulled him behind an overturned cargo container, her hands fisting in his uniform jacket. "Here? Now?" he asked breathlessly. The bond responds to passion, to intimacy. Her violet eyes were molten with need. "And we need every advantage we can get." Their lips crashed together with desperate hunger. Her hands were everywhere, tracing the emerging patterns on his skin, pulling him closer, igniting fires in his blood that had nothing to do with alien enhancement. He responded in kind, his fingers tangling in her silver hair, his mouth trailing down her throat to the pulse point that glowed with inner light. She gasped his name, and power exploded outward from their joined forms. The cargo container they were hiding behind began to glow, charged with the energy of their connection. Around the hangar, loose metal objects started to levitate, responding to the electromagnetic field they were generating. "Magnificent," Seraphis breathed against his lips. "Do you feel it? The way we complete each other?" He did feel it, a rightness that went beyond physical attraction, beyond even love. They were two halves of something larger, something that had been waiting eons to be whole. The sound of approaching footsteps broke through their haze of passion. The remaining hegemony soldiers were flanking their position, moving with coordinated precision. "Stay close," Kai murmured, checking his weapon. "Always," she promised. They emerged from cover together, moving with supernatural coordination. Kai laid down covering fire while Seraphis channeled their combined energy into devastating attacks. Where his bullets struck, her power followed, turning conventional ammunition into armor-piercing rounds of pure force. One of the aliens managed to get close, its liquid metal skin shifting to form blade-like appendages. It slashed at Kai's throat, but Seraphis was there, catching the creature's wrist with her shining hand. Where she touched, the alien's metallic flesh began to solidify and crack. "Your people's greatest mistake," she told the dying soldier, "was thinking love made us weak." The last of the boarding party fell, but their victory was short-lived. Through the hangar's viewports, Kai could see more ships approaching, larger vessels bristling with weapons. "The main fleet," Seraphis said grimly. "They're not taking any chances this time." Dr. Vasquez struggled to her feet, her face pale but determined. "Commander Thorne, what's happening? Who are these people?" Aliens who created her as a weapon, Kai said simply. They're here to clean up their mess. The shuttle in Bay 2 is still functional, one of the rescued crew members reported, but it's not armed, and it won't outrun military craft. Seraphis studied the approaching fleet through the transparent aluminum windows. 6 destroyer-class vessels, 2 carriers. They're planning to glass the entire station. How long do we have? Minutes, maybe less. She turned to Kai, her expression serious. There's a way out, but it requires complete trust, complete surrender to the bond. What are you talking about? My people were created as living weapons, yes, but we were also created as living ships. Her markings began to pulse in complex patterns. In times of extreme need, a bonded pair can achieve temporary integration, become something capable of faster-than-light travel. Kai stared at her. You're talking about some kind of transformation? Transcendence. She took his hands. For a brief time, we become something beyond physical form, pure energy, pure will. We could escape the system, find somewhere safe. And the others? Seraphis looked at the surviving crew members. The energy field would protect them during the transition. But Kai... She hesitated. Once we transcend, there's no going back to what we were. We'd be bonded permanently, completely. 2 souls sharing one existence. The lead hegemony vessel was powering its main guns, energy building to devastating levels. In moments, Echo 7 would be nothing but expanding plasma. Kai said without hesitation. Are you certain? This changes everything. You'd be giving up your human life, your independence. He silenced her with a kiss, pouring all his certainty into the contact. I gave that up the moment I looked at you. You're my choice, Seraphis. Today, tomorrow, forever. Her smile was radiant. Then hold tight to me, my anchor, and let's see what we can become. She pressed her forehead against his, and the world dissolved into light. Reality reassembled itself slowly, like a dream becoming solid. Kai found himself standing on the deck of an unfamiliar ship, his hand still clasped in Seraphis's. Around them, the survivors of Echo 7 were picking themselves up from the deck, looking dazed but unharmed. Where are we? Dr. Vasquez asked, staring at the organic-looking walls that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Safe, Seraphis replied, though her voice carried new harmonics, deeper, more complex than before. We're aboard the Synthesis, my people's last sanctuary ship. Through the curved viewports, Kai could see they were in some kind of nebula, its swirling colors providing natural concealment. In the distance, ancient alien structures drifted like sleeping giants, the remnants of a civilization that had been old when humanity was young. The transcendence worked, he said, marveling at the sensations flowing through him. He could feel Seraphis's thoughts at the edge of his consciousness, her emotions intertwined with his own. But he was still himself, still human. How is this possible? The bond evolved during the transition. Her fingers traced new patterns of light that had appeared on his skin. Instead of losing ourselves, we became more ourselves. Enhanced, but not changed. A new voice interrupted them, elderly, filled with wonder and relief. The last pair. After all these years, the last bonded pair. They turned to see an alien figure approaching from the ship's depths. Like Seraphis, she bore luminescent markings, but hers were dim with age, flickering like dying embers. Her companion was human, or had been once. Now he showed the same enhancement patterns as Kai, though his were silver with age. Elders, Seraphis said respectfully. I am Seraphis of the Void-born, and this is Kai Thorn, my anchor. I am Aramis, the alien woman replied. And this is David, my bonded partner of 47 years. We are the guardians of this sanctuary. David stepped forward, his weathered face kind. You're the first new pair to reach us since the purge began. We'd almost given up hope. There are others? Kai asked. 7 pairs total, including yourselves, Aramis explained. All that remain of my people and their human anchors. Seraphis's grip on Kai's hand tightened. 7 out of thousands? The hegemony was thorough, David said grimly. But they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated what bonded pairs could accomplish when working together. He gestured, and the ship's walls became transparent, revealing the true scope of the sanctuary. Dozens of structures connected by bridges of light, all pulsing with the same bioluminescent energy. Gardens floated in protective bubbles, and in the distance Kai could see other figures moving among the structures, the last of two civilizations learning to live as one. "This is beautiful," Dr. Vasquez whispered. "But why show us this? Why not just return us to Earth?" Aramis and David exchanged meaningful looks. "Because Earth is no longer safe," Aramis said. "The hegemony has marked your species as a threat. Too many compatible genetic lines, too much potential for bonding. They're planning an invasion," David added. "Full subjugation, just like they did to dozens of other worlds." Kai felt cold dread in his stomach. "When? Soon. They're already seeding your system with reconnaissance probes." David's expression was grave. "Humanity has perhaps 6 months before the main fleet arrives." "We have to warn them," Kai said immediately. "Warn them with what proof, Doctor?" Vasquez shook her head. "Who would believe us? And even if they did, what could Earth do against a force that conquered entire star systems?" Seraphis stepped forward, her markings blazing with determination. "They could bond." Silence fell over the group. Aramis raised an eyebrow. "Impossible. The genetic compatibility rate is too low. Perhaps 1 in 10 million humans could successfully bond with one of my people." "Then we find those 1 in 10 million, Seraphis replied firmly. "And we create an army." "An army of bonded pairs," Kai said, understanding flooding through him. "Fighting to defend Earth." "It's been tried before," David warned. "Other worlds attempted similar strategies. The hegemony simply escalated their timeline, struck before the bonding process could be completed, because those worlds were trying to create weapons," Seraphis countered. "We're not talking about creating soldiers. We're talking about creating families, people who choose to bond out of love, not necessity." She looked at Kai, and in her violet eyes he saw hope mixed with fierce determination. The hegemony's greatest weakness has always been their inability to understand love. They see it as a flaw to be exploited, not a strength to be feared. Aramis moved closer, studying the patterns on both their skin. "Your bond is remarkably strong for such a new pairing. How long have you been connected?" "Hours," Kai admitted. "Impossible." The elder's eyes widened. "Bonds of this intensity typically take months to develop, years to fully mature. Unless," David said slowly, "they were meant for each other from the beginning. True anchors, not just compatible genetics." Seraphis smiled. "Which means there are others like us out there. Humans and my people who are perfect matches, waiting to find each other." Dr. Vasquez had been listening intently. "You're talking about completely changing both civilizations, humans and aliens living together, bonding together, creating something new," Kai said. "Something the hegemony can't predict or control." The elderly bonded pair exchanged another look, this one filled with hope. "It's dangerous," Aramis warned. "If you're wrong, both species could be destroyed." "If we do nothing, both species will definitely be destroyed," Seraphis replied. "The hegemony doesn't leave survivors." Kai felt the rightness of it through their bond. This was what they were meant to do, why they'd found each other. "How do we start?" David smiled for the first time since they'd met. "With the most dangerous mission two people can undertake, going home." Later that night, alone in quarters aboard the sanctuary ship, Kai and Seraphis held each other as starlight filtered through the organic walls. Their bond had deepened throughout the day, and now every touch sent waves of pleasure and power through both of them. "Are you ready for this?" she whispered against his chest. "Returning to Earth? Trying to convince them to trust us?" "I'm ready for anything, as long as you're with me." He tilted her chin up, meeting her glowing eyes. "We're going to save both our peoples, and create something beautiful in the process." She pressed closer, her luminescent markings responding to his touch. "I love you, Kai Thorne. My anchor, my choice, my heart." "I love you too," he replied, sealing the promise with a kiss that lit up the room with their combined radiance. Outside their window, the sanctuary ship began its long journey toward Earth, carrying the hope of two civilizations and the love that would unite them. In the depths of space, the hegemony fleet continued its inexorable advance, unaware that their greatest fear was about to become reality, not just one bonded pair, but an entire world of them, fighting for love, for family, for the right to choose their own destiny among the stars. The anchor protocol had begun.